Hello everyone, my name is TaxOwlbear and welcome back to the Lovecraftian video game Retrospective. And welcome to Daughter of Serpents, also published as The Scroll, making it one of the Lovecraftian games with a very exciting title. So yeah, this might look a little bit familiar to you. The graphics are way better, but this is basically the same character creation you have from the Hound of Shadow. There's a reason for that, because this game was made by the same people and also published by Electronic Arts. So yeah, and as with the Hound of Shadow, character creation doesn't really matter at all. I choose to be an occultist and put a lot of points into demonology, max out necromancy with 100 points, and then put, I don't know, 70 points into alchemy, because why not? So yeah, and again, as with Hound of Shadow, the character creation is entirely pointless. While not quite, you occasionally notice that the dialogue will be a little bit different. So I played through this game a total of 3 times, which isn't really all that impressive, because this game can be completed in maybe, let's say, an hour or so, or 1.5 the first time you play it. And maybe even if you really rush it and speedrun it, half an hour or less. So yeah, and I noticed a couple of differences. At one point I gave my character the ability to speak Arabic, and it does matter a little bit. The dialogue options are a little bit different, but overall it's basically a waste, and it gives you the illusion that you can create very diverse characters, which you can, and have a completely different game, which is not true, which would actually be quite cool. I'm okay with shorter games if they have a lot of replay value, so it would be really nice if you could play through this game, let's say 5 or 6 times, and have a completely different experience every time. But you do not. Superficially, this game doesn't really look all that similar to the Hound of Shadow. It has a mouse interface, because obviously it has been produced later and the graphics are way more advanced. The graphics are in fact quite pretty. I like this game. It even looks good today. Obviously it's dated, but its art style has aged quite well. So the basic backstory is quite basic. So a scholar was murdered. You could see it on the screen right now, this introductory cutscene, and you are a British or American guy or girl in Alexandria, and you have to investigate what exactly happened here and what's the mystery behind the titular scroll, provided you have the game version of the game. It's actually called the Scroll. As you will notice, you can explore the ground in every area you're in, and the reason for that is that you have to drop items on the ground to be able to examine them, and I don't know why. I don't really know why you can't just examine them in your inventory. It's really very obscure. You have this map here and can travel to different places, and there isn't really a whole lot to do regarding gameplay. So you can talk to people, but you can't really choose dialogue options. Occasionally you can, but most of the time just click on them and they just walk you through a dialogue. There are very few puzzles. I think the game has only 3 actual puzzles, and most of the time you just walk to place A, talk to person B, walk to place C, talk to person D, and that's really all that matters. As with the Hound of Shadow, dialogue slightly changes if you have different skills, but overall it doesn't really matter. And as with the Hound of Shadow, you can find allies. Again, it's 2 allies, and again it's someone who's more of an official. This time it's not a priest, it's a police officer, and a mysterious lady. Last time it was a psychic of sorts. This time it's basically sort of an antiques dealer, kind of. It doesn't really matter, and again, it doesn't really change a whole lot. You have a female or male companion. It changes 1 or 2 scenes. That's pretty much it. It doesn't even increase the replay value all that much. Overall, would I recommend this game? Maybe. If you happen to stumble upon it and it's not too expensive, you might as well do it, because the game is rather short, so you're not wasting all of the time with it. The story is alright. It's interesting enough to play through it once. And since the game is very short, you're not actually wasting a lot of time, and since it barely has any puzzles, you're not actually investing a whole lot into this game. So it's not like you're going to get stuck all the time or have to replay the game a couple of times as with the Hound of Shadow. And there's even one character from the Hound of Shadow that's mentioned in this game. That's basically the sort of tie-in you get. And the setting which is Egypt, obviously. It's not completely unexplored, obviously, but it's rare enough that it makes the game quite interesting. And as I said, the graphic looks pretty. As with the Lovecraft references, it has quite a few, but most of them only come in at the end of the game. So it has a relatively long build-up, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. And that's pretty much all I have to say about this game. I wouldn't really invest too much into getting it, but if you happen to stumble upon it, you might as well give it a shot. It's short enough and it's pretty enough for that, and the gameplay is really, really basic, so you don't have to invest a lot of it. So yeah, that's all I have to say about Daughter of Serpents. So thanks for watching, and I shall see you next time. Take care and goodbye.